ballroom dancing made me better at leading cybersecurity teams. You see, in dance, we have this idea that leaders create space, and then followers fill that space. And this idea changed the way I thought about leadership. I stopped thinking about myself as the choreographer, responsible for planning every move. And instead, I thought about how I could create space for my team to inject that initial energy and then get the heck out of the way so that they could carry the team through with their own style. And this type of unexpected lesson that I could take from the dance floor back to my desk really gets at the root of what I see creativity as. You see, sometimes it's about thinking outside the box, but other times it's about connecting the boxes. In my life, I live in 2 boxes. In one, I'm a cybersecurity engineer for the MITRE Corporation, where I work in the area of cyber deception. Now, cyber deception, you can think a little bit like Kevin McAllister in Home Alone, when he sets all those traps to catch the wet bandits and make their lives miserable. Well, I get to do that, but I do it for cyber adversaries. And in my other box, I own my own ballroom dance studio, where I get to watch people explore the wonderful world of partner dancing. At first glance, it might seem like these 2 things don't have much in common. Math and science, dance and art, and yet I find so much creativity when I'm able to build connective tissue across these things. And I think it all starts with boxes. Now, if you've ever taken a partner dance class, the first thing you probably learned was a box step. And at least my box step, when I first learned it, looks something like this. Forward, side, together, back, side, together. Whew, I made it. And when you're first learning, it's stiff and it's awkward and it's off time, but you're just grateful that you have a place to put your feet, you didn't trip and you didn't trip your partner. It's that structure you need. Our boxes, engineer, dancer, they give us structure, identity, focus, purpose. But if all we ever do is stay within our box, if we never think about taking the ideas and skills and perspective from one box into another, just like that dance that was pretty boring, can you imagine watching Dancing with the Stars? They did this for an hour. We lose out on our full potential, the creativity we can bring. But I didn't always think about things like this. You see, when I first graduated from college, I was so focused on my engineer box. I thought that to be the best, I had to spend all my time thinking about this box, being in this box, eating, sleeping, breathing this box. And at first, it seemed to work. I was promoted multiple times, managing teams, managing large projects, even asked to speak internationally as a technical expert. But I remember sitting in my car one day and realizing I was succeeding, but I was not happy. And so when a friend asked if I wanted to co-open a ballroom studio, it felt like a breath of fresh air, a chance to step outside of my engineering box and into this new box. But I quickly discovered that that new box was slightly terrifying. You see, I constantly felt like I was teetering between judgment and curiosity. Judgment was screaming at me about just how unqualified I was to open a ballroom dance studio. You see, I had no background in business, or finance, or marketing, or sales, or really anything that you would need to open a ballroom dance studio. Yet, curiosity whispered, "You love this. Are you sure there's nothing in that box, that engineering box, that can help you here?" And so I got curious, and I started to think about what were the things I knew, and could any of them help? My very first day in computer science class, we learned about this concept of abstraction. In coding, abstraction is how we manage complexity in really large pieces of code. We hide the details we don't need to worry about so we can focus on the functionality that we do. And I started to intentionally apply this idea to the marketing and sales and financing and all the things I didn't know. And I realized that, well, no, I didn't actually know much about finance for a small business, but I'd been managing million-dollar projects. Let's face it, our small business had a few less zeros than those million-dollar projects. And while no, I didn't really know anything about sales, I spent a lot of my time teaching people about a new technology, trying to get them to understand the value and convincing them to adopt it in their organization. Well, what was selling a dance class but teaching someone about something that I believed in, helping them to see the value in their life, convincing them to invest in it? Suddenly, I realized my engineering box actually brought a lot of tools to my dancer box, and there was places that I could pull from. And I continued to do this even after the studio opened. At work, when I'm at this larger company, I love the fact that I can walk down the hallway and bump into someone who might have different ideas and experiences than my own. It's been the reason I've found different opportunities and new projects. Now, when you're at a two-person small business, there's only so many times you can bump into your partner before he says, like, please stop. So I decided I need to manufacture that same environment at the studio. There was 2 dancers from a style outside of ballroom that I was really impressed with the way they were thinking about dance. They had this interesting curriculum called the body language curriculum. So we flew them to Boston from Kansas City, and we spent a weekend learning all about how they were thinking about dance and thinking about how it applied to ballroom. For that weekend, our little studio became a hub for the same interdisciplinary conversations that I loved to have when I was at work. It changed the way we thought about teaching our beginners and changed the way we thought about building community, and we get to continue those conversations to this day. I was finding all of these opportunities to bring engineering to dance, and I started to wonder, maybe this wasn't just a break for my engineering box. Maybe there was something that my dancer box could bring to engineering. And that's when I started to think differently about the idea of leaders creating space and followers filling that space. And I really started to think about what it meant to fill space and to create space for my teams. You see, if anyone's met engineers, you might know that sometimes we're not the best at the people part of things. And I had all these resources to help my team to grow technically, but I really didn't have much to help them socially. And I saw people struggling. The interesting thing I noticed is that when I looked around a dance floor, there was actually a lot of engineers who do ballroom. It's pretty common. And yet, they would spend all Saturday night having these social interactions on a dance floor, being really successful at it, and yet Monday morning, it all fell apart. And so I started to think about what was it that made those social interactions on a dance floor successful, but not in the office, and I realized it's because dance is inherently a structured social interaction. The music tells you how you're going to move your feet. I don't necessarily need to talk to my partner in order to have a conversation. I know the conversation's going to end when the music ends and I walk away. There was clarity, there was structure, there was rules. And so I thought about how I could bring that same clarity and structure back to my teams. And it changed the way that I did feedback sessions, reviews, structured meetings, even how I just sent emails. There are so many different ways that we're able to bring ballroom to engineering, engineering to ballroom. There are limitless possibilities, and I'm excited about things like, can we use the arts as a means of stress management and mental health the same way we use the office gym? Dance helps engineering, engineering helps ballroom. The possibilities are really endless when you start finding these points of connection. I think back to my first box. It was awkward, but it smoothed out over time as I brought more to it. We're facing tough and challenging problems. We need to think about ways of evolving our boxes, starting to find connection points. You see, I truly believe that the future will be built by those who are willing to dance between their boxes. And so my question for all of you is this: are you going to stay in your box, or would you like to dance with me? Thank you.